What you know, Alibis. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It is Christmas Eve. Hope you guys have some fun plans for today and tomorrow if you celebrate. So an early Merry Christmas from me. This episode, I apologize. I'm not going to have any graphics. I just don't have time to do them, but I wanted to get this episode out. So I'm just going to literally put up the graphic on the screen of the thumbnail because my prison contact, actually a couple of them, have sent me some emails letting me know what it's like on Christmas in prison. So this is unique to two different people, but I just combined everything. It's a little easier. This morning, actually, I woke up to an email saying they had a hooch sweep last night, as they usually do right before Christmas. She says one hallway of 8 rooms has an average of 5 people per room, but can have as many as 8, and they are sent into the hallways. Once they're in the hall, they get patted down, and then they sit as a team or their cell block as over a dozen officers search their room for possible intoxicating items, contraband, or anything that poses to, as she calls it, disturb the peace on Christmas. She said this happens to every building across the facility leading up to major holidays, and there are 16 buildings at the facility she's at. She said there is a mix of happiness and sadness in prison on Christmas. A lot of people get mean, and you find there are more loud arguments or fights that normally wouldn't happen on a normal day. It's just the emotion of being in prison during Christmas. But a lot of people just try to make it as festive as they can. Imagining what our families are doing, knowing everyone's there but them, is really tough. And then for people serving life, knowing you will never have another family Christmas again really hits you hard every year. Parents, grandparents will die over the years, and on Christmas, you know exactly what you're missing. She said not many people who have killed others think about the family of their victims. Some will share their phone minutes with others who don't have money on their books, and others will hog the phone and cause arguments. There is a Christmas visitation, but with the travel that's required for most families, as well as holiday traditions they have in place, it's typically not a very crowded time of the year for visits. If you have a tablet, you can video visit while your family's together. But she said it's oftentimes more sad seeing everyone gathered, having a good time as they should, but it's just a reminder you'll never be in that room again. One contact says they're experiencing a Grinch Christmas due to what she calls an overzealous fire marshal, restricting decorations to bulletin boards and one live Christmas tree. Normally, they have a live tree and they decorate every surface of their day room, but not this year. One girl in her block had her sister print out a picture of a Christmas tree fully decorated in color. She said it was like a puzzle. They assembled that on a flattened box from toilet paper, and the tree stood almost full size. They made a small one for their room with tiny squares of tissue paper and also the roll from the toilet paper. They also made a different kind of tree that they used from the back of a legal pad. You take a pencil eraser and dip that in Elmer's glue and stick that onto this cardboard cone they made from the back of that legal pad. And for garland, they use a thin strip of cookie wrapper that they get from the canteen. Christmas balls were made from wet tissue and Kool-Aid for color. She said they used to paint to decorate their window. Some used toothpaste to make white snow around the outer edges of the window, and some decorations are crochetts from people in that program. She said our creativity and expressing it for the holidays helps us navigate the holiday blues of being without family, stable phones, and dealing with regular prison drama and violence. At her facility, the internet connection has been very shaky, so if you have a tablet, calling out for audio calls or doing FaceTime calls, they are dropping very frequently, so everybody's upset about that, especially with it being Christmas Eve. She said last year they had a Christmas party for the unit with music and games, and they even had an ugly sweater contest, but they used sweatshirts they got from commissary. They typically will get donated Christmas gift bags with cards, hot cocoa, a toothbrush, a pencil, lip balm, and a candy cane. Those come from different organizations outside of the prison. A different donor provided a muffin and a cookie to each inmate, and that's considered a huge treat. They also have music from their facility choir. Her favorite thing is the puppy parade that they have every Christmas. These are dogs that are being trained there in prison by the inmates, and these are support animals that will eventually be given to veterans. She also added about the puppies, they come in with sweaters, garland, and one even had a little Santa on his back. They dress the dogs up and they just parade them around all the hallways. Each cell will collect cardboard from toilet paper, and they will cut out little holiday characters like Santa, the elves, Disney characters, or forest animals. We have a display of skating elves on a pond made of cardboard and saran wrap. They will cover the window bars in white color paper and put red stripes on there. And she said everybody gets into the decorating the cells and they compete against other buildings. Although this year with the common areas not able to be decorated as much, it scaled down, which made a lot of people upset. So what do they eat for dinner? Because we know prison food is not good. They would have a slice of roast beef for Christmas dinner, but this year they're getting pozole soup, which is a Mexican stew made from hominy and meat, typically pork or chicken. So all the girls will do their room traditions. She said a large portion of people in California eat tamales for the holidays. In her block, they have 32 rooms, and about half of them get together. They will crush down nacho chips to season and add water to that to make masa, which is normally a fresh dough made from corn that's been cooked and soaked in lime water and then ground up. Meat will be seasoned and cooked in plastic bags. They have immersion heaters for that. Plastic bags are cut into squares about 8 per small bag to substitute the corn husk. The masa will be formed into thin squares, filled, and then rolled before the bags are tied. All of this prep happens on Christmas Eve, and they're cooked in large bags in buckets of water heated in the early hours of Christmas morning. Rice and beans will be added for the side dish. One dessert is a Christmas pie made of crushed cookie crust and coffee creamer with lemon Kool-Aid and starry soda, and it tastes similar to cheesecake. The cake my contact is making is made of crushed cookies, hot cocoa powder, a spoonful of pancake mix from a vendor box, olive oil, and peanut butter. She'll cook that over boiling water. Then she'll make a glaze out of melted dark chocolate chips. Once the topping is ready, it's poured over the cake. Her roommate is making cheesecake using cheesecake pudding mixed with actual cheesecake from a friend who gets kosher meals. Then that is poured over a graham cracker crust. She said this time of year, a lot of swapping goes on with commissary, or if you have a friend who's on a kosher meal or a better meal than what you get, you might give them commissary things in exchange to help with your Christmas dinner. Some people will make handmade gifts out of everything you can think of. Tampons, pads, toilet paper, just to give others something. And after lights out on Christmas Eve, you'll often hear inmates in their cells singing Christmas songs, and sometimes the whole block joins in, and she said it just sounds heavenly. But you do hear the sniffles and the sobs of those not handling their incarceration at Christmas very well. She said, in the end, we make the most of it, but there is a heaviness in the air as we think about Christmases from our childhood, and especially the Christmas right before you were locked up. And she said all of us would give anything for one more Christmas with our families. But we also know, for those of us serving life, that will never happen again. You know, you think about somebody like Donna Adelson, who has been in jail a couple of years, but this is her first prison Christmas. And you know, she is going to be thinking about Christmas past and thinking about Wendy and the boys and what they're doing. And you know what? That's the price you pay for killing a man who only wanted to be present and to be a dad in his kids' lives. You look at Corey Richins, who is awaiting trial, but she's away from her children because allegedly she killed their dad. So many cases we've covered where parents are in prison, leaving these kids with a very heavy burden all year round, but I'm sure it's a little heavier on big holidays like Christmas and birthdays. And this definitely isn't to garner sympathy for anybody who is in prison that has committed violent crimes that should be in prison. This is just a little inside look into how it really is when you have nowhere to go. Another thing she did tell me on the phone is that oftentimes you will find staff shortages on the holidays, which means you are confined to your room because people want to have 2 or 3 days off to be with their families. Another thing that they do, they'll watch Christmas movies in the common room if they can find one on TV. If you have a tablet, sometimes you can rent movies. And for people who don't have tablets, they will prop those up in a common place where everybody in the cell can watch. So they find their little pleasures here and there to make it feel like Christmas, but in the end, it's just not Christmas. It must be a very sad and lonely time to be in prison. But that's it. Sorry for the lack of graphics with this. I've got a lot of gifts to wrap, and then I'm just going to go hang out with my folks for the evening. I've got to go to Mass at 10, so I am going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys have an amazing Christmas with your loved ones. Whatever you're doing, stay safe, and just remember the things to be grateful for. We all have different challenges, different things we're facing, but at the end of the day, if we dig deep, we can find some joy in our hearts just for a day or two. And really take the time to look around and appreciate every single person that is at your gathering. There are a lot of us who are dealing with the first holidays without people we love very much, and it's very bittersweet. And even worse, these families that have lost family members to violent crimes who should be there with their families, but my heart goes out to each and every family out there just dealing with such a heavy, heavy loss. All right, guys, that is it. Merry Christmas. I hope Santa is good to you. We will see you the day after Christmas.